and welcome to Mums at the Table. You are here with us. I'm Rachel. This is Shona, mum of 3. But first of all, I want to talk about what's the right age to toilet train your kids? Because I think it's different for everyone. And I hated toilet training.
And I think it's different between what gender you've got too. Because
Yes.
I had boys.
And I've got
boys
girls.
are very easy to toilet train. They have a nice little thing called a diddle dance.
My mum always called it a good handy little picnic tool. Let's not go down that road.
No, please don't.
I've got girls, and for what it's worth, it was just horrendous with all of them. It just wasn't easy, and it was always such a long, laborious process. And I'd have these friends who do it in 3 days, and they were done. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, well, I did my 2 together, the 2
Yeah.
younger ones together, but I did it in the summertime, so they could actually understand what was happening with the bits and pieces.
Well, always summer because everything's easier to dry. when you have to do a lot of
true,
washing.
true, yeah.
And it's easier for kids to be outside in the heat. In the summer, you can take stuff off and they can
And
get
I think
used to
the
it.
hardest thing for toilet training for me was the nighttime stuff because there's all the wet sheets and all the drama and everything else. But one handy tip for you, if you've got boys, put a ping pong ball in the toilet because they're flush. They don't go down the drain when you flush. Put a face on it and tell the little boys to aim for it. And it works.
Girls have no aim, so that doesn't work for us.
No, sorry.
But one of the issues I keep reading about is we're putting our kids in nappies, and the average age for when kids used to be toilet trained decades ago to now is, pushing back further and further. So it's not 2, which is what experts sort of suggest. It's moving out to 4 when people are toilet trained.
Really?
Yeah, so it's sort of extending. Do you think nappies have been a disadvantage in that regard? Obviously, they're an advantage in other ways.
Well, yeah, but I maybe your kid is not going to wear nappies to school when they're 5, so let's just take the pressure down a little bit.
But yeah, look, I think it can be very stressful, especially when your friends' kids are getting it straight away. And when
but are they, or are they just telling you that?
Well, I think there are some that do. Some kids get it from a really young age. I think their bodies just click, their minds just click, and it works. And then you've got others who just take a really long time to do that.
Yeah, don't sweat it. Just go with the flow.
And that's the problem. I did sweat it and I did stress, and I kept toilet training one of my children for such a long time, and I eventually gave up. And when I gave up, that's when things started to happen.
Isn't that the old story?
It is. Well, I think the key here is don't put as much pressure on yourself as you probably are. Like, at the end of the day, they're going to get there.
Yeah.
They all do.
Yeah, they do.
Because they're not luck in the meantime. Keep cool.
So glad you joined us. I'm sitting with Colette and we're going to be talking about how to teach children empathy. First things first, what is empathy?
So empathy really is the skill that children need to develop, and some adults, mind you, in really how to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So feeling what somebody else might feel. So it's not the same as sympathy. It's not feeling sorry for someone, but it's imagining how somebody might feel in that situation.
Being understanding and perhaps sympathising with what they are going through.
Yes, yep.
Which I think is quite difficult in this day and age because we're so used to being on social media, we don't know how to read the cues.
Yes. And also we've come through a period where I think we've really emphasised children's self-worth. Now, that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying we shouldn't emphasise a child's self-worth, but really what I do is I balance it between 2 things I call developing children that know they are love-worthy and children that know that they are love-able. Okay. So love-worthy children is helping our children understand you are worthy, you have dignity, you have worth, you are worthy of being loved by me. But if we only raise children who know or believe they are love-worthy, we risk raising entitled children who think the world revolves around them. So we need to balance it with children knowing they are love-able. Yeah. They have an ability to love and give because others have worth. And it's not something children are going to learn overnight. It's like a muscle. Right. They need to practice and exercise. Gratitude is actually a good way to help children develop empathy. Okay. Asking them questions like, what do you think your coach gives up every single week to actually come and spend time with you? What could you be grateful for what he did or she did today at school?
I love that because you're actually teaching your kids to have a good attitude about what they have, appreciation.
Yes.
So is there another way that we can develop empathy within our children? Because so often we, as parents, we want to tell them everything and pour in our wisdom and knowledge, which I know everyone has.
I think, it's not about just giving advice all the time. I mean, that's also something I've got to work on as a psychologist.
Me too.
It's not about advice. It's actually often about listening, teaching your children to really listen in and ask questions to hear what the other person is feeling and just acknowledging their feelings. I actually have a saying where I say to parents, we ask our children, what do you need from me in this situation? And then they can actually verbalize and teach them to say that to their friends. What do you need from me? So not assuming that their friends or grandma
know the answer.
Yeah,
'Cause
yep.
We do. We often feel like we need to give them an answer,
Yes.
find a solution.
Yep, and
But
help them to articulate what they need and get others to articulate what they need as well, so that they can figure that out and learn to understand other people's emotions.
great tips. Thank you so much, Colette, for sharing those tips on empathy. Look, everyone needs it, from young and old. Let's teach our kids and be better parents and be better children by showing that empathy.
Well, Rachel, here's a topic for you to think about. What are some ways to save some money these holidays? And not just Christmas, like into January.
And look, it's something I have to think about because I'm not a natural planner. It's, you know, I know it's something you would do from the beginning of the
Yes, I'm in there on Boxing Day.
But something I do, and this can be like with your food and whatever, is
Yep.
I actually base out. So I do meal plans,
Right.
And I base my meal plans on what's on sale that week at the supermarket. You know,
Okay.
whether it's IGA, Woolies, Coles, whatever. And I'm
Yep.
like, okay, this is what's on sale. This is what we're eating this week. So I make sure we're just buying the stuff that's
Well,
cheaper.
speaking about going into Coles and Woolies, one of the things I love to do is I've got the Flybuys card. And so I save up all my points and I churn them.
From when? When do you start saving?
From whenever.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I've just got the card permanently. So I get to December and I churn it over into cash, and that makes my Christmas week spending. So at that time I can buy the chips and the dip and the crackers and the you know, bonbons and everything with those Flybuy points.
That's, see, if I was a planner, that would work really well.
Yep.
But I forget to have my Flybuys card with me all the time.
Well, you got to
Lucy.
remember these things.
Goosey Lucy. But what about the kids and activities? You know, there are lots of free activities out there. You
Yes.
don't always have to be paying for entertainment.
No.
I know there's great things to pay for, but I mean, kids just love being outside. So if you've got time to take them,
Yeah.
that's the cheaper and the best option.
And another really good one for the kids is collect the cans and take them
Cash
to
for
the
cans.
cash for cans, the 10-cent recycle, and then they've got some money over Christmas, January that they can spend and
Yep.
learn how to budget their money.
And I think when it comes to gifts around Christmas, we often try and put a limit on what we spend on each
Yep.
other. So we sort of collectively, as a family and as a group, say, right, you know, on
So
the
like a
kids
Kris
we'll
Kringle
spend,
type thing.
you know, so much, and on adults we'll spend so much. So we try and make sure that everyone's not going over budget, because I'm a gift giver. I like doing it, and at Christmas I could easily go over my budget. So it's
Yeah.
good to sort of have that in your mind.
Yeah, it's all about planning, guys. All about planning.
What about kids and making gifts?
Oh, I'm not
others.
good at that one. That's probably more your thing.
That is, when my kids were little, because I like them to be able to give a gift, so we would put photos on a piece of paper and then laminate it, and that was a placemat that they gave to their cousins. So they learnt to give gifts, but it didn't really cost anything. So there are heaps of different ways out there, and our magazine, Mums at the Table, has some great tips for you if you want to have a look. So jump onto our website and have a look at our magazine. But other than that,
Plan, plan, plan.
Okay, so we are going to make a chocolate chia seed pudding. Now, there's so many chia seed puddings out there, and you'll probably find a couple on our website which are like a strawberry one. But this one here is a chocolate chia seed pudding, which I like to use on my breakfast and also for dessert if people are coming over. I'm going to show you how I make it. I just put everything in my blender. So we'll start with the cocoa. Do you want to put that in? Or cacao, whatever you've got, raw cacao. Help me. Oh, you just reached. You want to do it by yourself. Cinnamon. The cinnamon gives it a touch of sweetness. So if you don't want to use sugar for something like a chia seed pudding, a chocolate one especially, you just use a lot of cinnamon and that'll give it like a little bit of a sweet tang. Hey! Okay, so you're putting your hands in there. Some maple syrup. And you don't have to put that much in it. You can put it 1 or 2 tablespoons. If you put more cinnamon, it'll make it sweeter. And the chia seeds, and I use almond milk. So we'll add that in. Oh, you got to help me with that one so we don't. Ooh, spilled it everywhere. Woo! Okay, and that's it. And then we're gonna blend it just for a minute. Okay, you ready? Turn it on. We've made a mess. Okay, that wasn't even a minute, right? That was just a few seconds. And then I pour it into a jar with a lid and I put it into the fridge. I can put this in the fridge using Glad wrap or something over it. And then I'll leave this in the fridge and it'll last me a week. And that's how but I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so that's the one we made yesterday. I left it in the fridge overnight. That's in a jar. The kids love chia seed pudding as well. Now, this is my breakfast. I love having porridge in the morning. If it's a cold day, I do porridge or muesli.
Please eat a little bit more strawberry.
One more strawberry. You can have one more strawberry. And I love putting some chia seed pudding on top because then you're getting all your omegas and it's going to help the bowels. And I love putting some strawberries on top and some maybe 100% natural peanut butter or some almond butter. I'm going to use, I love almond butter as well. It is expensive actually, almond butter, if you can't make your own. But a little bit of the fresh 100% peanut butter, and there is my breakfast. I got my protein there, I got my good carbs, I've got my omega-3s, my good fats and fruit.
Can I try some first?
Yeah, you can try some here. You like my chocolate chia seed pudding? Are you sure? You're not sure about it? Okay, so mumsattetable.com if you want some more of our recipes, or follow us on Facebook at Mums at the Table. You'll find us on social media. Please follow our recipes, follow our links. You'll find some really good things for your family. We'll see you next time. Say bye. Bye.
All we've got time for. Jump onto our website where you can subscribe to our magazine and catch up on all the topics. We'll see you next time.